In this session, we are going to continue with probability distributions. Earlier, we have gone to the basics of probability distribution and random variables, and I have explained different types of discrete and continuous random variables. With this session, we are going to go into small details of what each discrete or continuous distribution will mean, and how can we use JASP to do various tasks using our uh, data set. So let's start with Bernoulli's distribution, which is the first of its kind in discrete, the most basic one. So we need to first understand that what are the instances or what are the events which will uh, duplicate what Bernoulli's random variable means. So any event which is given or any data set or any definition it is given for an event, or what are the possibilities or probabilities of each event in a random variable. That possibilities should match with either one of the definition of given set of random variables or distributions which we know, and then based on the definitions which we know, we should be able to match that yes, the event which we are talking about follows Bernoulli's random variable or Bernoulli's distribution, binomial or normal distribution, etc. So these definitions are going to be important. So the Bernoulli's random variable has few characteristics which I list down now. The first is it has only two possible outcomes, which are called as success and a failure in an event. In any event, we'll have only two possible outcomes. The second definition is the probability of success must not change during the event which is taking place. So if we have a coin being tossed and we only have two possible outcomes, success and failure, that is for sure we cannot have, or we are assuming that it will not lie on the circumferential direction. So we are assuming it falls either on the front or the back side. And we all always know that both theoretically both faces have equal probability of 0.5. So that's why we can say that the event of tossing a coin represents a Bernoulli's distribution. Now opening JASP. So let's come to JASP. I will urge you to open JASP and do whatever functions I'm doing right now, so it has better impact on your learning. So we can go to open, go to data library, and under the ninth point, we have discovered distributions category, and we have a data set which says distribution. It has all the data set of different distributions which we will have. So we can see that the first column has normal, the second has normal, third has normal. But over here we have 10 data points. The second column, which says normal 100, has 100 data points, as we see. Similarly, as we go on, we have 1000 data points for a normal distribution. Then we have T10, T100. So those are the T distribution. Then we have F distribution, and we can go on. We have chi square, we have beta variables, we have gamma, we have inverse gamma functions, we have Bernoulli. So over here we come to exponential. So till exponential we had continuous distribution data points, then we have Bernoulli. So we can see that these are not continuous. Either we have 0 or 1, or either we have some specific discrete integer value. Uh, then we have binomial, negative binomial, and the last is the Poisson's distribution. So we'll use this data point. These are the points which will represent the probability or the point of the data. So let's go to distributions. If this distribution module is not available, or you cannot find out this, you can go to plus over here on the right corner, top corner, and you can click or check this box of distribution. This will come up, and under here we have continuous and discrete distributions listed. So we'll start with discrete because those are easier to understand. So let's find the first one, Bernoulli. So we have a test for Bernoulli which has come up over here. Theoretically, we'll have probability of success by default as 0.5. We can change it to whatever value, but we can see that the probability of success is a constant value throughout all the events which will take place. So that's what the definition will mean. Then we have explanatory text. So what the different functions will mean over here. Then we have parameter, support, and moment. So those are the parameters. So we have only one parameter, that is the probability of success, which we are denoting as small p. And that small p is a real value. So I can zoom it more. So that P is a real value and it lies between 0 and 1. It can have a value of 0 and 1 also. Then we have X that is going to vary between 0 or 1. So we have only two possible values of X. The moments, so from moment generating function, which will have a value of some a complex value, I can say it as P plus or Q plus P into e raised to T, or where Q is defined as 1 minus P. Then the probability from that moment generating function, we can differentiate and get the value of mean or estimated value of X and variance of X. So double differentiate and get value of variance. Then the probability mass function is defined, which I have defined earlier, or density function if that is the case for continuous random variable. And as per my probability of success, my probability plots have come up. And the last was the cumulative distribution function, which is again a definition which I have explained earlier. And based on my data points, my cumulative probability plot has come up. This is theoretical one. When I go and generate the use my data set, so over here we need to cleverly use the data set for Bernoulli's only, because we are doing Bernoulli's probability distribution right now. So we can take any one of these. I'll take 100 because that is okay. As we move to higher values, so let me just turn off this all. So as we move, we have only 10 data points over here. So the relative frequency, or that is also called as probability, if we have the probability not changing, the probability of getting 1 or getting 1 is 0.4 and getting 0 is 0.6. So that is not an ideal case. Ideally we should have 0.5 every time, and that's what my data set is also telling, that my probability should be 0.5 for success and equally for failure also, because 1 minus 0.5 is going to be 0.5 again. But since my data set is not large, that's why I'm getting some deviation from the ideal value. If I go to 100 and have 100 data points, we have come a bit closer. So earlier we had 0.4 and 0.6 relatively, but now we have a more closer value to 0.5. And similarly, if I go to 1000 data points, I'll come more close. So now I'm much more closer to 0.5. So that is the way. If we have more and more data points, we'll come more closer to theoretical value. So let's use this 10 data points and 100 data points and continue. So descriptives are over here. We can plot bar plot also. So these are different ways we can represent the same relative frequency or probability. Then we can estimate parameters. So the maximum likelihood interval can be plotted. So since we have a finite set and we can have all the values used from our population into the sample, we will have the perfect estimate of those. So the estimate for getting X is equal to 0. So P of 0, which is exactly value of 0, is 0.4, which is what we had earlier. And probability of X getting equal to 1 is the given value of 0.58, which we had earlier. Then we can also see the standard errors. So what can be the possible error in them, and the confidence interval in the estimate values. So if we take a confidence interval which is very small, so I need a confidence of only 10%, then we'll have the interval very much smaller in range. So the range will be smaller, and we'll include that estimated value much more inside my range, or whatever the interval it has plotted. If I keep on increasing my confidence interval, the range will increase. So we can see that the range has increased. And if we go on to 99% confidence, the range has further increased. So that means if I want a larger confidence, like I want a 99% confidence that my estimated value is correct, that means that my predicted interval in which my estimate should lie should be larger. The interval should be larger. And if I want smaller confidence, if I only have 10% confidence, or I want a 10% confidence interval, that means that I can limit my interval to a smaller value in which that estimated value of the maximum likelihood parameter should lie. And the last one is the excess plot. So These are the plots to generally check the normality. So QQ plot and PP plot are used to check normality, which I have explained earlier. So this is the QQ plot, which means a quantile plot, and a PP plot means percent plot or probability plot. So we know that one we had a probability of 0.48, close to that, or 42, and then another was 0. That will obviously be 1 because that is cumulatively added up. And the histogram versus theoretical PMF. So the PMF means probability mass function for discrete random variable, and we have empirical versus theoretical CDF. So CDF means cumulative distribution function that will add up my total probability. So these are not so useful for any inference because we are having discrete random variables. As we go on to continuous random variables, this will be more and more helpful. So that's all we have. We'll end over here. You can try and practice these things again. But if we go on and check or try using some another column, I'm sure this will not give some any meaningful data to us because the data points are not of uh, proper value to us. Bernoulli will have only two values, and as per the definition, it should have only two values, right? But over here in binomial, we can have multiple values. So binomial has multiple values of 0, 1, 2, 3. So because of that, it is saying that this is outside the definition of binomial. So that's why we cannot plot a binomial distribution using a data of Bernoulli, or we cannot plot Bernoulli using the data of binomial. Okay. So we'll end over here. Thank you.